Hispanic heritage is not a month, it's an identity, and it means a lot of things, showing the pride of a lot of people. Nowhere is that more pronounced than where we are now, in the Bay Area. For some, it's comunidad.
The murals and the connection that we feel when we see like our stories being told on the walls.
Others, cultura. And for us all, una familia.
Now, KPIX and CBS News Bay Area present an original special, Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Gianna Franco.
And I'm Jocelyn Moran. All right, we are in the Mission District of San Francisco, the heart of our culture as Latinos in the city.
And for the next hour, we are going to bring you a closer look at Hispanic heritage stories that weave deep into the fabric of who we are right here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, and Gianna, it's more than history because despite the contributions of Latinos in our state here in California and throughout the country, some stand on rocky ground.
For the past few years, many young undocumented immigrants have faced uncertainty. The Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, better known as DACA, has allowed them to work in the U.S. without the fear of deportation. But the policy has faced legal battles and continues to.
I wish it didn't have that power over me, but not fearing for my deportation and being able to work to sustain myself did allow me a lot of privileges that, gave me the confidence I needed.
Juan lives in the Bay Area. He's a DACA recipient and a graphic designer at the Immigrant Legal Resource Center in San Francisco, an advocacy organization. If you see him walking down the street in the city, he's like many locals trying to get to work and make a living.
BART into the city, and then the office is a couple blocks from Civic. I'm listening to Bad Bunny and trying to get myself in the zone, the work zone, and the way that only Bad Bunny can get me in that work zone. Just telling me I can dress how I want, I can be who I want, I can dance how I want.
Stopping at his favorite local coffee shop is a must.
Pick myself a Salvadoran quesadilla and a Mexican mocha. Gracias, eh?
The Bay Area is his home.
When you're queer and undocumented, San Francisco is just the mecca of all these communities coming together to fight to retain their rights.
But even though he calls it home, there's an uncertainty in the back of his mind. Juan came to the U.S. from Mexico with his parents and siblings when he was just 8 years old, but old enough to understand at least a little.
I was seeing my mom cry, I was seeing my mom saying goodbye to people, but the younger one's like, we're just gonna go to Disneyland. And this is maybe a few months into having moved to the U.S. Fresh out of Mexico, there was a lot of violence that started spiking up around our neighborhood. My mom would constantly say it was a reason why we fled. And just economic disparity there, we were poor.
DACA was implemented in 2012. When Juan got it, he noticed a change.
I see myself thriving. Then it's like, oh, now I can leave and go to a university, right? That's when I started planning to leave my community college. It just opened up the world a lot for me.
He graduated from UC Berkeley in 2017. At the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, he creates graphics as they get information out to the immigrant community.
My area of focus has always been detention and deportation and dwindling that down as much as possible.
Because yes, Juan says he's worried for himself, but mostly he's worried for his family and community who don't have protections now. Veronica Garcia is a staff attorney at the same center. For more than a year now, the government hasn't accepted first-time DACA applicants.
There's also a ton of people who applied for DACA before the ruling last July that are kind of stuck in this limbo. And they don't know what's going to happen, right? They paid the money. A lot of them got fingerprinted.
A lot of focus goes around the DACA recipients, but we are members of families, right? And those family members are just in the same legal situation that we find ourselves in and are just as deserving of rights, just as deserving of protections as we are. And I don't want that to get lost in the dialogue.
So Juan says he'll keep fighting, taking it day by day.
Gianna, as we talk about Una Familia, I think it's important to highlight something from that story. The fact that he says, he's worried for himself, but he's worried for his family, and he's worried for his community that is undocumented.
And when you think about it, Jocelyn, there are so many businesses here in the Bay Area that are run by immigrant families. And one of those businesses is a restaurant right here in the heart of the Mission. It's Gutierrez, and it's owned and operated by a wonderful family who has been serving up delicious Latin flavors for over 2 decades. They are the cornerstone of esta comunidad.
Building a business in America is something many immigrants dream of.
It's possible.
Elizabeth Vasquez works every day to keep that dream alive as she runs her family business.
My dad decided that he wanted to open up a restaurant, which was his and my mom's dream.
Tio Chilo's is a restaurant on 24th Street in San Francisco's Mission District.
Our customers come in and I try to treat everyone like family. They see it and they feel it.
Her parents, Isidro y Maria, are from Jalisco, Mexico. They moved to the Bay Area in the late 60s and have called the Mission District home ever since. And it's truly a family-run business.
Basically, it's myself, my husband, my dad, my compadre Roy, and my mom.
With multiple generations chipping in to prepare the restaurant each day to welcome customers. But like many small businesses, trying to stay afloat isn't always easy, and the pandemic made it more difficult to keep the doors open.
Especially during COVID, I saw that my mother and my father invested their savings into this place. And I could not, I told my husband, I can't let everything go down in flames. I said, I have to do something to make it work.
Elizabeth had to get resourceful and applied for help through the California Restaurant Foundation's Resilience Fund.
I didn't know a lot of information. I saw it come up on a few things, but I didn't know exactly where I had to go or what I had to do. And one of their Zoom trainings, all the information was on there, which was great.
And that was at no cost to you?
No.
This led to a $3,000 grant and year-long support services funded by Wells Fargo. The opportunity making the biggest difference to this mom of two.
It works out pretty good for us.
She also spent the last few years learning how to use social media to grow her business and connect with the community.
Everyone showed us love. They came, and thanks to all of our customers, our family, our community, we're able to stay open and still be here.
Sí, esa es la carne para la vidra torta.
And of course, to share her family's signature dishes.
What is your favorite thing on the menu? The absolute, hands down, you have to have it.
Birria torta. Every time I see one, I always tell my customers, it's to die for.
Filled with delicious Latin flavors and made by working together as una familia.
And it's not just restaurants. In the North Bay, thousands of farm workers, Jocelyn, are digging their hands in the dirt and are the root of the Napa Valley wine industry.
Yeah, Gianna, our Sean Chitnez takes us to a winery in Napa Valley where workers aren't just working their land, they're working to feed their families.
Más problemas con los animales.
Carmelo Leon spends his day going row by row in the vineyards of Somerston Estate. With almost 20 years on this ranch, he's an irrigation manager who has become an essential part of the team. Today, he's checking the water lines for any leaks or breaks in the system. He finds one and quickly fixes it. But when he's not hard at work helping to make wine, he's feeding his passion for gardening without leaving the job.
In
Mexico, they grow a lot of their own produce. Something I've always thought was really a special opportunity is we have these large vineyards, and sometimes there's areas that aren't great for grapes, but it's still great dirt.
Carmelo works alongside the vineyard manager, Jake Knobloch, who has helped the workers to start multiple gardens on the estate.
Get to grow some unique things that aren't available in every grocery store.
Originally from Mexico, Carmelo and many of the other workers bring a mastery of agriculture to wine country. They love where they live now, but most cannot use these skills at home because there isn't any room to garden there. Each week, workers can bring home fresh fruits and vegetables to feed their families.
Todo el área de Napa, los alrededores.
Napa was a special place to come to because of how pretty it was, but also there was so much opportunity.
It is a lot of work, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this, especially on hillsides, without a really dedicated team.
It's hard work here and long days all year. You have to move quick to keep up as they pick grapes off the vine. So the garden is just one more way the winery can say thank you.
You know, I always say that what makes a great estate great is not just the location and the climate of that location, but really the people behind it that make it happen.
Carmelo showed us the incredible crop he's helped create, which would be the envy of any organic section at the local supermarket. He loves the whole process from planting to harvesting. But his favorite of all this bounty, the melons. They're the hardest to grow, and they're the first to go when animals get into the garden. The beauty isn't just in the quality you see in each section, but in what it represents for the workers, giving them a sense of unity, a bond built by their shared culture, creating community and celebrating their heritage at the same time.
We're a real tight-knit group. I'd call us a family.
All right, Gianna, we all have those family stories that have been passed on generation to generation, whether that be through conversations, through books that have been passed down, or yes, even music.
Yeah, and Kito introduced us to a man in the Central Valley who is keeping those storytelling traditions alive.
So here we are in the Salinas Valley. This is home to some of the most fertile land on the planet. And a teacher by the name of Julian Estrada is growing the next generation of mariachi musicians. How are these kids going to sound today, you think?
I'll say inside here, very, very loud. 1, 2.
This is the start of the newest season of Mariachi Juvenile Alisal in the Alisal Union School District.
1, 2.
For many of these students, they're touching a guitar for just the second time in their lives.
It doesn't kind of sound like music. It is something more of like just sounds being made, you know. 1. But you know, that's all part of the everyday learning, and that's what we strive for every single day. So the time comes from they see the initial starting point to now seeing them in the first performance, a lot of parents cry.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at, well, this is El Mariachi San Miguel, one of my uncle's great-grandfather's sons.
For Julian, mariachi music has been in his blood for 4 generations. His great-grandfather, Jesus Ruiz Guzman, began playing in the early 1900s as a way to share information during the Mexican Revolution, and quickly realized he could teach his sons to play to earn a decent living.
Here we go.
These days, the kids in Salinas think they're learning just music.
Like, this is not just a typical music class, because we also teach them a little bit of history. Every song that we sing, there's always a meaning behind it. Try to tell them, hey, you know, this is the history of mariachi. We are now the second half of the book.
For Vicente Rivera, who's back for a second year, the dedication and commitment is real. 3 practice sessions a week, including 4 hours on Saturday mornings for the entire school year. That's Vicente right here at a recent performance. And no, he was not nervous.
When you play mariachi music, what do you want people to get from your music?
I want them to get inspired.
His father also played in a band for several years, and mariachi deepens their connection.
For us, it's important that he continue with the culture of Mexico here. It would be like a dream for me that we both get together and practice music together.
Retaining culture takes work. What makes it worth it?
Making my parents proud.
There are now nearly 20 elementary school mariachi bands across the country. Alisal is the only one on the Central Coast. Now in its 5th season, they've taught at least 500 students.
If your great-grandpa could see you now, what do you think he would say?
He would be proud.
Music, history, culture, and pride. With mariachi, it's all one and the same.
All right, give us a applause.
The plight of the people of Puerto Rico growing as their island struggles to recover from a devastating hurricane. Fiona hit 5 years after Maria's devastation. People in the Bay Area with close ties to Puerto Rico now rushing to make sure their story isn't lost again. And later on, a personal journey that so many of us can identify with. Family, hard work, and sacrifice for a better future.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
This is Paramount Plus. This is Touch-Ups. Touchdown! And getting touchy.
Sexy, sexy.
This is blue paint. Yellow sponges. And red shirts. This is super suits. Super sacks. And super dumb. They're like really dumb. This is a mountain of entertainment. Paramount Plus. Stream now.
When I see that fog fall over the Marin Headlands, I do think about being out there.
When we look at the wind data, I'm thinking about what it's going to be like to be biking into the wind.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think about flying all the time whenever I'm looking at data.
It's one of the benefits of the job, having all that information at my disposal.
We live in one of the most unique and amazing places in the world for weather.
That wind speed will continue to
We're capable now of lending so much context to this story that we couldn't just a few years ago.
And that's why our approach to weather is a little bit different.
More detail, more science, more perspective.
First alert weather is more than getting you ahead of dangerous or disruptive weather. It's about anything that might affect your day.
Because we're going to be out there too.
Paul Hagan, Lieutenant Jessica Birch, Darren Peck, and First Alert Weather, only on KPIX 5 and CBS News Bay Area.
Preparing for Warp 10 excitement!
Yeah! Whatever happens, we're gonna be right beside you.
Behold! So magical!
People in Puerto Rico are reeling after Hurricane Fiona hit. The island saw devastation and power outages after the storm made landfall in September. Now, Puerto Rico was forgotten after Hurricane Maria in 2017. Local volunteers here in the Bay Area are doing what they can to ensure that doesn't happen again.
Hurricane Fiona hit Puerto Rico and knocked out power across the island in September. Families are trying to recover. For Maria Acevedo Campbell, this hits home.
It's where I come from. It's where my ancestors come from. And no matter what, it will always be home.
Maria is the president of the Puerto Rican Civic Club, a nonprofit in the Bay Area helping bring aid to people on the island.
So we're still having a lot of outages. I understand that area lost.
Every day, Maria talks with Richard Lee Cuevas, who lives in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico.
This week I had in my house 4. One that lasted 12 hours, the other lasted 16 hours, one for 5 and one for 2 hours. It's random. You never know how long the power is going to be out or when it's going to go out. It just goes out.
He helps inform and ensure donations go to the people who need them.
We ask the doctors. We asked in healthcare centers.
The Puerto Rican Civic Club has volunteers on the ground delivering items that donations help buy.
Lo que necesitamos asegurarnos de que tengan gasolina, porque si le damos el generador, no tiene la gasolina, entonces no los estamos ayudando.
They're trying to get a generator to a family who desperately needs one for their mom.
She needs it to keep her bed moving, to help with circulation. And her legs are having ulcers right now.
All of this isn't easy. Maria says the club is lacking funds.
No te preocupes. Haz lo que tú puedas. Yo sé que es mucho. Haz lo que tú puedas, ¿ok? Yo entiendo. Más que nada, ¿qué más vas a hacer? Don't cry. Okay, bye. I love you. She's upset because our hands are tied right now and there's a lot of need.
There's frustration. But they work as a team.
Let's talk about the donations that have come in the last week.
Money donated is being used for things like generators, solar lights, solar panels, water filters, food, and water.
I just want people to know that one person can make a difference.
It's even the little things like notes. They're putting these care packages together to send to Puerto Rico. Included are toys that help with anxiety and stress for kids and cards that read, "Be strong."
We want to concentrate on making sure that this kind of messages gets to their hands and they know that they're not forgotten.
That keeps them pushing forward. Maria and her team, they're not giving up. They're working throughout the week, coming up with strategies and finding ways to fundraise.
I've been blessed with the life that I form in the Bay Area, and it's only right to give back.
Yeah, Gianna, they're not giving up, but you can see how much the island means to Maria, and they're doing what they can.
And just to see those words of encouragement, Jocelyn, that they're sending home, that really must mean a lot to everyone in Puerto Rico.
Another often overlooked perspective when we think about Latino heritage is looking through the eyes of Afro-Latinos.
It's a growing demographic, and here's one voice on the unique paths and struggles of the community.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sonia Magnon,
and I am the co-executive director of Leader Spring Center and also a trustee member of the Latino Community Foundation here in the Bay Area. I am Afro-Latina, I'm a Dominicana. Both of my parents are from the Dominican Republic. I was born here in the United States. Usually people look at me and they assume that I'm African American until they meet my family and come to my home and begin to understand the cultural nuances that I have. Being Afro-Latina is kind of a bicultural experience, if you may, here in the United States, particularly in California, because there are so many Latinos here, but there are very few Dominicans. I've lived in other states, Connecticut, Ohio, where I had to really search for my tribe. And here in California, I mean, the tribe is here. I think that some of the challenges is, the anti-Blackness that does exist within the Latino community. My first language is not Spanish. It's my second language, and I'm not fluent. So I do deal with a lot of racism and biases as a result of that. People, won't accept me as being Latina. And there is a lot of anti-Blackness, within our community that has to be talked about. Pride is something that was instilled in me very, very young by my grandmother. She always said, "Tú eres Dominicana," and don't ever forget that and be proud of that. I learned from two very strong, badass Dominican women, how to be comfortable in my own skin, be comfortable with my identity. As a cultural anthropologist, I'm a storyteller. I love stories. I love telling my story, collecting other stories, and I think that's what brings us together more than keeps us separate.
Still to come, I take you through the life of my grandmother, mi abuelita. Her journey and her impact are something I hope you can identify with.
An art that has a message, the meaning of these murals, and the Latino experience.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
This is Paramount Plus. This is Touch-Ups, Touchdowns, and Getting Touchy.
Sexy.
This is Blue Paint, Yellow Sponges, and Red Shirts. This is Super Suits, Super Sass, and Super Dumb. They're like really dumb. This is a mountain of entertainment. Paramount Plus. Stream now.
When I see that fog fall over the Marin headlands, I do think about being out there.
When we look at the wind data, I'm thinking about what it's going to be like to be biking into the wind.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think about flying all the time whenever I'm looking at data.
It's one of the benefits of the job, having all that information at my disposal.
We live in one of the most unique and amazing places in the world for weather.
That wind speed will continue to
We're capable now of lending so much context to this story that we couldn't just a few years ago.
And that's why our approach to weather is a little bit different.
More detail, more science, more perspective.
First alert weather is more than getting you ahead of dangerous or disruptive weather. It's about anything that might affect your day.
Because we're going to be out there too.
Paul Hagen, Lieutenant Jessica Birch, Darren Peck, and First Alert Weather, only on KPIX 5 and CBS News Bay Area.
Prepare for Warp 10 excitement!
Whatever happens, we're gonna be right beside you.
Behold! So magical!
Es very important porque, no sé, en las familias donde existen los abuelos hay mucho amor.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us for our celebration of Hispanic heritage. Our special is called Una Familia because we really wanted to emphasize the importance of all the different cultures and the role they play in our Latino community, in our Hispanic heritage, especially family, which unites us all along our different paths. I want to introduce you to someone who is very special to me. My grandmother, mi abuelita. In fact, I am here in San Jose, and this is the exact driveway that she walked along for so many years as she raised her family here in San Jose.
Aquí en este piso pasaron todos, todos, de niños.
Now we came here to see where her house used to be. It no longer stands, but the tree that stood next to it still stands strong, like she did. And she taught me so much about devotion to family and community. Maria Falcon lived a life dedicated to her family, and for her, that was all she needed. She was born in Texas in 1915 to a family that migrated from Burgos, Tamaulipas, Mexico, eventually getting married and moving to Northern California. That's where she spent many days in Morgan Hill and in San Jose, caring for her family while her husband worked the fields like so many in their community. She lived through the Spanish flu, 2 world wars, the civil rights movement, and COVID, and all the changes in technology, which she embraced as it kept her connected during the times we were all apart. And while the world around her changed, one thing never did: her love and devotion to her family.
Tengo aquí a mis hijos. Tengo aquí a mis hijos.
Now, if you ever met Maria, she would instantly take you in, feed you, of course, and always ask, ¿Qué necesitas? What do you need? Offering love and support no matter what. And when you left her home, you felt cared for. She always stood at the door and waved goodbye with these words, Que Dios te bendiga, asking God to watch over you. Eventually, Maria moved to San Diego, where she would become a Guadalupana, a role of service through her Catholic Church. And in 1987, she was recognized by Pope John Paul II with an invitation to receive communion at his service in Los Angeles. He also gave her a Medal of Honor for her service to the community. Maria celebrated 106 birthdays, 106 years on this earth before she died in December of 2021. And each year she was surrounded by generations of love, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. Her secret? So simple.
En mi pensamiento, en el amor que tengo para toda mi familia.
A love for her family. I wanted you to meet Maria, mi abuela, because she is the person who taught me about family and how it means so much more than being bound by blood. It means community and to be there for others. So as we celebrate Hispanic heritage, I wanted to share a small piece of her story, not because I'm so proud of her, but because she truly represents so many Latinos, hardworking and rooted in community, faith, and most of all, family. She believed in this world, the people in it, and that we are all una familia. Dear Abuela, thank you for being mine. I'll be honest, it's really hard to watch that sometimes, Jocelyn, because I miss my grandmother so much, but I know I'm so lucky to have her for 106 years.
Yeah, 106 years, such a long and beautiful life. And I think one reason a lot of us love that story is because abuelas and abuelitas are some of the first people to really teach us about the value of family. And so I really love that story.
Oh, thank you. And they kind of just bring us all together, sort of the matriarch of our family. Whenever we had her birthday, it was like a family reunion. By the way, I named my son Falcon because I really wanted her to live on, not just within myself and her memories, but within my children also. So very glad I got to share that with you.
We have a lot more to bring you in our special, pictures that are worth 1,000 words. And when you get to know the meaning behind them, they become worth a whole lot more. The message behind these murals.
And the artist who is using her heritage to keep classical Mexican folk music thriving in the spotlight.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
My name's Honor, and I'm going to the #1 college in the world.
You're in my top 4 choices.
Top 4? There's 3 people it could be, but only one is a threat.
What's the plan?
Hi, coach. Study with me.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Easy. I've got to play dirty.
We should get to work, because I need a scholarship. Yeah, you might break the tempo.
They grow up so fast.
Honor Society, rated TVMA, streaming July 29th on Paramount+.
Have you ever noticed people are getting meaner? It means your team is losing. I'll drive.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
Welcome back to KPIX 5's presentation of Una Familia, a celebration of Hispanic heritage. We're showing you beautiful murals from San Jose that depict that history. And sometimes art is more than entertainment. It makes a statement.
Yeah, Gianna, and a local artist is putting issues Latinos face front and center for the world to see and hear.
Fabiana Rodriguez is taking us into her sanctuary, where she can express herself and imagine what change can look like. Something she has been envisioning since she was a child growing up in East Oakland.
I grew up during the era of the war on drugs, and so I saw a lot of inequality, I witnessed a lot of violence, and I just recognized that my community was being neglected.
So she escaped through art, and she began to create. Her art today reflects her lived experiences, including growing up in a polluted neighborhood.
And I just noticed that people in my community were sicker than in other communities. There was a lot of kids with asthma due to the pollution from the 880 freeway. There was a lot of factories in East Oakland around that time.
So she creates what she wants to see in her pieces. You'll find a lot of color, a lot of green.
Here's a tree. I love including trees in my work.
Recently, she collaborated with the Warriors and Markham Elementary. Trees were planted, and she created a mural based on what the students wanted to see.
It's really a testament to how we can bring together the ideas of nature and art in order to address climate injustice, because the most impacted in climate change are Black and brown people.
Another issue she highlights in her art, immigration. One of her most popular pieces is her monarch butterfly, a symbol that signifies support for DACA recipients.
What if we were to celebrate the beauty of migration, the fact that migration is actually a very natural thing?
In the butterfly, you'll find 2 faces looking at each other.
Because they love each other, and often migrants migrate because of love, whether it's love towards themselves and a desire to have a better life, or it's love for their family members who they want to be reunited with.
Along an art piece with just 3 words, migration is beautiful, comes the hope that people will understand a key issue Latinos face in the U.S.
Art and culture more broadly informs how we see the world. It informs how we relate to each other, because the way that we run our political systems are informed by the stories that we tell each other as a society.
Fabiana's art is living throughout the Bay Area, including in the Presidio tunnel tops. As you walk, you'll find animals, symbols, color.
My goal was to honor all of the creatures who were on these lands before colonization. So in this piece, I collaborated with local leaders from the Ramaytush Ohlone tribe to imagine what a bold statement could look like. And I really love that we included the name of what this land used to be called, which is Yelamu.
Fabiana's art comes from years of lived experience, and it was also inspired by what Latinos hold onto, what they value deeply, familia.
A business nestled here in the Latino Cultural District is creating a space to keep the arts thriving. Our Justin Andrews introduces us to Fernando and Talia.
A quick walk down Calle 24 in the Mission District, it's clear culture is not concealed.
24th Street, there's just so many talented artists, so many talented people.
Fernando and Talia are from San Francisco, went to school around the corner, and now using their love for art to inspire and heal. Fernando takes us inside his shop, Evolved.
To evolve is like just to try to develop yourself, to try to improve yourself, to improve your situation, to improve your environment. To me, that's what evolved means.
That's exactly what they're doing. Evolved is more than just a clothing store. For the last 4 years, they're dressing the community with art, creating and nurturing a space for people who look like them.
Just putting some ink on the screen, and we use a squeegee right here, and then we pretty much swipe the screen.
Fernando began his day screen printing one of his favorite designs. It says abundance.
That's a design that we made because that's something that we want to manifest. Like I said, we want to manifest it for ourselves, our family, our friends, our community.
This block, known as the Latino Cultural District, has the greatest concentration of art and Latino businesses in the city. It's the birthplace of the San Francisco mural movement.
The murals and the connection that we feel when we see like our stories being told on the walls.
Their stories, their lives, their culture, often overlooked and overshadowed.
What we've noticed is there's so many talented and amazing people, and their stories aren't being told.
So instead, they're showing them. Most pieces, whether large or small, inside their shop are from local artists of color. As artists themselves, they like to get pretty creative, from tie-dyeing to hosting events and gatherings, but they admit it's not easy.
Keep encouraging us to keep going, because sometimes, like, as an entrepreneur, it can get kind of hard.
That's where this design came from, a reminder for themselves.
I grew up here, and I've seen all the changes, and being able to still hold a spot here in San Francisco is really important to me, and I'm grateful for it.
A singer with deep California roots is drawing from her heritage to make beautiful music. Her name is Lupitan Fonte, and I had a chance to chat with her about how she's preserving Mexican folk music.
With every note Lupitan Fonte belts out, she continues to keep her family's legacy alive.
There's just so many layers of significance, you know, even having the legacy with my grandfather and singing his songs.
Lupita's grandfather was beloved iconic mariachi singer and actor Pedro Infante. He died tragically in a plane crash in 1957. Her father, Pedro Infante Jr., also following in his father's footsteps, starred in over 80 films as an actor before he passed away in 2009.
I grew up watching my dad perform on stage and watching my grandfather on film, hearing his recordings. So every time I hear a mariachi, that takes me to that special place with family.
Now Lupita is making her own way, singing the songs of her heritage.
I saw my dad doing that, and I think that's what inspired me the most, how he could just connect with them and then take them to this place that it brings you to like family, and you laugh together, you can cry together and celebrate together, and it's just such a good feeling.
Lupita was born and raised in Southern California and graduated from UCLA in 2017 with a degree in ethnomusicology. Before, she launched her professional music career and has been performing traditional Mexican folk music across the country ever since. In 2019, her debut studio album, La Serenata, was nominated for a Grammy Award. And in 2020, her song Dejaré was nominated for a Latin Grammy Award. In celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, Lupita recently performed with the San Francisco Symphony at Davies Symphony Hall.
And then having people tell me those were my parents' songs, my grandparents' songs, and I can't, you know, they couldn't even express what it was. It's just like this feeling that comes over you.
This included a bilingual performance of Be True to Me.
Would you cross your heart and promise me all this?
She'll spend the rest of the year performing with stops in Chicago and all over California. And of course, always looking to what's next.
I think I could be like this Latina Michael Bublé, bringing those classics, but, you know, in Spanish. And then now I kind of could see that vision coming true.
With this music so close to Lupita's heart, she hopes to keep the genre alive and in the forefront for the next generation.
Jocelyn, I loved my interview with Lupita, just hearing about her story and of course her family's story, and seeing that moment of her on stage singing traditional Mexican folk music with the San Francisco Symphony. It was such a cool moment.
Yeah, and the fact that she got to showcase that here locally and that it's been passed on generation to generation, I absolutely love to see that.
Putting Hispanic heritage on display every time they take the field, the impact of Latino sports stars in the Bay Area.
But first, a major gap in messaging that put the population in the crosshairs again. What can be learned from how monkeypox hit the Latino community hard?
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration.
My name's Honor, and I'm going to the #1 college in the world.
You're in my top 4 choices.
Top 4? There's 3 people it could be, but only one is a threat.
What's the plan?
Michael, would you study with me?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Easy. I've got to play dirty.
We should get to work, because I need a scholarship. Yeah, you might break the tempo.
They grow up so fast.
Honor Society, rated TVMA, streaming July 29th on Paramount+.
Have you ever noticed people are getting meaner? It means your team is losing. I'll drive.
Welcome back. Let's talk more about the issues Latinos are facing. Probably none more visible or more counter to the overall trend in the city of San Francisco than homelessness. The Latino population saw a heartbreaking 55% increase in homelessness between 2019 and 2022. Compare that with the overall numbers. The city saw a drop of 3.5%.
There's also a serious health concern affecting the Latino community. We're talking about monkeypox and how information about the virus was slow to reach the Spanish-speaking population. Arlen Ramirez reports on how the Latino community is now bearing the brunt of cases.
The beauty of the Mexican culture is alive and well in the Bay Area. The music, the dance, the food and togetherness bring happiness and a sense of community. But for many, the joy belies a serious community concern, the struggle for health equality.
There have been disparities for centuries. And these disparities are created by systems, systems of oppression, racism, discrimination. You're going to enter here.
Rodrigo Garcia is an artistic director, a co-founder of Colectivo Ala, a Silicon Valley LGBTQ+ support group, and a public health worker. He says the Latinx health crisis that came to the surface during COVID is now raging again with monkeypox.
There is some tension in the community, some anxiety of who has it. Now, how do I know who has it? Am I going to be safe going to a gathering, a friend's birthday party?
There are 189 confirmed cases of monkeypox in Santa Clara County. The Latinx community make up 55% of the cases, and about 76% of those infected are gay and bisexual men. Similar infection trends are happening throughout the Bay Area and the U.S.
Anybody can get monkeypox. Why is it that Latinos are becoming more affected? Because of all these sociocultural factors that put somebody at risk.
I don't think there is enough public awareness that has reached the population that needs to be reached.
Dr. Ranjani Chandramouli is the medical director at the community-based Gardner Family Health Services in San Jose. She says poverty, often crowded living conditions, and deficient monkeypox messaging to Spanish-speaking people are all factors.
I think majority of the canvassing that's been going on is primarily in English. And it needs to reach the population. It needs to reach the Hispanic population. It needs to reach all the ethnic populations, right? It's not just Hispanic. But unfortunately, it is the Hispanic population that is being affected the most.
Monkeypox is spread by skin-to-skin contact.
Santa Clara County Public Health is trying to break through.
A mantenerse informados.
It recently announced partnerships with trusted community groups like Colectivo Ala to help disseminate health information in Spanish. Gardner Family Health also attends community events to be a resource for monkeypox and a range of health issues. But increasing communication is only part of the effort to slow the spread.
We still don't have the supply we wish we did.
Public Health says there is still a vaccine shortage throughout the U.S. The department has set up a special vaccination center at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds, but the vaccines are limited to those considered most at risk.
Right now, that is men who have sex with men, transgender folks, and other gay and bisexual men who've had recent new sex partners, as well as people who know that they've been exposed to Mpox recently.
As with COVID, monkeypox is exposing weaknesses in the public health system when it comes to the Latinx community. But as life moves on and the community is once again praised for its resiliency, the underlying problems are still here, seemingly stuck on repeat.
I hope that we don't see resiliency as like, okay, you can put up with anything. We had to do it, and we did it. But hopefully there is a time where we don't have to speak to that, where we could say we have the same access than other folks.
A field full of prominent players showing their pride in Latino culture, what it means to superstar athletes to represent more than the jersey on their backs. And the tradition of El Grito, we show you the work that goes into the start of Hispanic Heritage Month celebrations.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic Heritage celebration.
This is Paramount Plus. This is touch-ups, touchdowns, and getting touchy.
Sexy, sexy.
This is blue paint, yellow sponges, and red shirts. This is super suits, super sacks, and super dumb. They're like really dumb. This is a mountain of entertainment. Paramount Plus. Stream now.
When I see that fog fall over the Marin headlands, I do think about being out there.
When we look at the wind data, I'm thinking about what it's going to be like to be biking into the wind.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I think about flying all the time whenever I'm looking at data.
It's one of the benefits of the job, having all that information at my disposal.
We live in one of the most unique and amazing places in the world for weather.
That wind speed will continue to
We're capable now of lending so much context to this story that we couldn't just a few years ago.
And that's why our approach to weather is a little bit different.
More detail, more science, more perspective.
First alert weather is more than getting you ahead of dangerous or disruptive weather. It's about anything that might affect your day.
Because we're going to be out there too.
Paul Hagen, Lieutenant Jessica Birch, Darren Peck, in First Alert Weather, only on KPIX 5 and CBS News Bay Area.
Prepare for Warp 10 excitement!
Yeah! Whatever happens, we're gonna be right beside you.
Behold! So magical!
Here in the Bay Area, we take a lot of pride in our teams, don't we, G?
Yes, we do, Jocelyn.
All right, from the 49ers to the Warriors to the Giants and the A's, we represent our teams, and they're a big part in representing us.
Yeah, and sometimes, Jocelyn, sports are at the forefront of social progress, and especially here in the Bay Area. Our Sarah Donchi spoke with local athletes about what it means to them to share their Latino roots to a captive audience.
VR down the right field line. That is a fair ball.
to be surrounded by a lot of Hispanics on these teams, Venezuelans, Dominicans, and Puerto Ricans. It's nice to have a mixed clubhouse.
Bay Area sports are a lot like the Bay Area itself, full of diversity and culture, and Latino athletes are a big part of that. Giants infielder David Villar grew up in South Florida. His family came from Cuba, and coach Nick Ortiz is from Puerto Rico.
For us, it's Latin Heritage every month, right? So, we feel very proud. We wear our countries in our sleeve.
More than 30% of Major League Baseball's talent is made up of Latinos, and nearly 2,000 players of Hispanic descent have played Major League Baseball over the years, according to the Major League Baseball Players Association. The San Francisco Giants clubhouse reflects that.
Close. In fact, it's not even that close. The tag by Estrada.
Concept. I hope it works. That ball's hit well.
Tyro Estrada, who was born in Venezuela, is deeply proud of his roots. To be Venezuelan, wow, it's an honor for me and for my family, for the Venezuelan town where I would play every day. It's not just baseball. Former Warriors champion Juan Toscano Anderson's family immigrated from Mexico to Oakland. He played in the Mexican League before his time in the NBA.
Mexicans are into the NFL, are into football, so it means a lot for us.
49ers offensive lineman Alfredo Gutierrez was born and raised in Mexico and even wears the flag on the back of his helmet.
It's been great. It's been a dream come true. Be able to represent my country is awesome. Sometimes in away games, when I get outside the tunnel, people start yelling my name, and I'm like, well, where are they at or where are they from, right? But some of them, they're from Mexico.
Gutierrez is especially looking forward to returning to Mexico to face off with the Cardinals at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City.
I already, dream alive thinking about the way I'm going to walk outside the tunnel, and I just can't wait, man.
With each step, it's both honoring the past and carrying Mexican culture into the future. The celebration of El Grito de Dolores and the dancer who's showing love for her family the entire way.
You're watching Una Familia, a Hispanic heritage celebration. CBS News Bay Area, powered by KPIX. Get closer to breaking news and weather live as it happens. Stream the local news you trust on the CBSN News app and on Pluto TV.
My name's Honor, and I'm going to the #1 college in the world.
You're in my top 4 choices.
Top 4? There's 3 people it could be, but only one is a threat.
What's the plan?
Michael, would you study with me?
Yeah, sure. That's sure.
Easy. I've got to play dirty.
We should get to work, because I need a scholarship. Yeah, you might break that bar.
They grow up so fast.
Honor Society, rated TVMA, streaming July 29th on Paramount+.
Have you ever noticed people are getting meaner? It means your team is losing.
I'll drive.
This special with the beginning. You're looking at this year's celebrations for El Grito, one of the events that marks the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. But we said this at the beginning, our heritage is not just an event and it's not just a month.
No, Jocelyn, it's a sense of pride that brings families and communities together. Our Itahad shows you a talented dance group that is putting that pride on display.
Even in her wildest dreams, Veronica Garcia couldn't have imagined this moment.
It's just something big that we're very honored to do.
Born to Mexican immigrants, Luna grew up in East Oakland, where life wasn't always easy.
It was kind of hard. We struggled with money problems growing up.
Her saving grace was her mother Rosie, who somehow always kept a roof over their heads and plenty of food on the table.
¿Está bien?
Which is why, 5 years ago, Luna decided to honor her mother by joining a traditional Mexican dance group.
It represents my family, my parents, where they come from. Forward.
This year, they've been selected to perform at a celebration called El Grito de Dolores, the Cry of Dolores, a traditional shout that marks the beginning of Mexico's independence. For the first time in decades, San Francisco's Consul General of Mexico will give the shout from the balcony of City Hall, with Mayor London Breed as the guest of honor. For months now, Luna has been rehearsing 10 hours a week at the Ballet Folclórico Mexicano de Carlos Moreno. This is their biggest performance yet, and the pressure is on.
I feel like I'm just going to be like a whole different person. Like, I think I'm going to be more confident in myself when it comes to that moment.
Carlos Moreno Jr. is the artistic director. He says being honored by the mayor has been a dream come true.
To come in strong, you know, with a celebration like this, the grito that celebrates Mexican independence, it's exciting for everyone.
For Luna, it's about honoring her mother and maybe even inspiring others.
I want to try to make my people happy, like, oh, if she's doing it, I want to do the same thing.
What she's doing is following her dream, going to college next month to become a nurse. All that while celebrating Mexico's independence by sweeping the audiences off their feet.
We want to thank you so much for joining us for our Una Familia special, a celebration and examination of our heritage as Latinos. We covered a lot in the show today. If you want to learn anything more about helping the people of Puerto Rico, the struggles that our immigrant communities face, or anything else we talked about, go to our website, kpix.com.
Coming to you